Wow.
Whoa.
Where did you find that, Whimsy? I love it.
Oh, yeah. It goes on for about 7.5 minutes. I would have loved to have played it the whole thing, but it might take a little too long. But yeah,
Yeah.
that is Abby the Spoon Lady.
Abby the
And
Spoon Lady.
she's actually quite famous and her instrument is the spoon. And what I love about this type of music,
Mm-hmm.
the music of the common man and woman.
Yeah.
First off, you can hear the Irish in it.
Yes. Yes, you can.
You can hear many of these were poor Irish people who
Yeah.
didn't really have, poor people who couldn't afford musical instruments. And so they created music from spoons and
it's so
washboards.
organic. That was what I was thinking. Just very simple, basic, organic, and something so universal. We all have spoons in our drawer. Any of us could make music. Well, we couldn't do it as beautifully as her. Maybe you could, Whimsy, but I couldn't.
No.
But it was lovely. And I was thinking I would love to have just been sitting there in a front row seat and just like a sound bath almost.
Well, that's the thing about Abby. I just noticed I didn't have my book in front of me. That's the great thing about Abby is that, people think, oh, it's just a spoon. But she teaches classes, and what you start to realize when you take a class with Abby, because some of it's online, is that just being able to make a sound and not have them touching, but they have to be at a position so they're not touching, so that they touch only when you clang them. That in it, and then they have to be positioned in such a way. I think one has to be slightly above the other in order to get the knocking sound.
Yeah.
But you also can maneuver them this way to create different sounds, up, down. And then they have to be slightly ajar. And then you have to keep beat, but you have to keep the beat. And you have to play them at different positions in order to create different notes and different sounds. And so what you start to realize is that this seemingly simple piece of music is extremely complicated. And to do what she does takes years of training, just like it would with the guitar or any other musical instrument.
Well, also just a lot of talent, innate talent on top of that training.
She must have started as a very young girl. Hey, I can make a sound, I can do this. And then learning how to just keep 4/4 time, and then breaking it up. So she's got 4/4 da 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 da. So then she goes 4/4 16th note, 32nd note, 32 notes. Well, that is that's complicated. And then the fact that she's able to turn it into different sounds, and she also uses bells. She'll ring a bell. Just like being able to use a washboard and turn a washboard into music.
Oh, sure. I'm even thinking tissue paper and comb. We've seen people take saws and a violin bow and make beautiful music.
Yeah, and the different position of the saw creates a different sound.
I'm even thinking of people with water glasses, with different levels of water to get different pitches.
Oh my God, that's so complicated.
It's like a xylophone almost. But I was just thinking you and I should watch some videos and learn how to play spoons, and maybe we can open a show.
I've got myself completely crazy with the violin, actually.
Yes, I was just going to ask you, because because I'm your assistant, I see your schedule, and I saw you had a violin lesson on there.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you how it's going.
Well, it's going pretty good. As you know, I've been studying the violin for, how long have I been studying the violin?
Let's see. I think you had just started when you came out here to LA. And was that 2 years ago? 2 years ago.
Oh, you mean when I moved?
Yeah, it was when you came out here to visit me, and we saw the Barbie movie. You brought your violin with you,
When was
and
that? That was July. So was that 2.5 years ago?
I think that you know what I think that was. I think it was 2 years ago.
Would you like to see how far I've come?
I would love to. Please show us, Whimsy.
Yes.
Yeah, no, we were on the same wavelength because I was just thinking to ask you how you were doing, how it's progressing, because I know how much you love it.
Yeah, it's a really hard instrument, but this I've been working a little bit. That's a basic one. You want to hear my favorite? My favorite, and then we'll
What
get
is
back
your
to the show.
favorite? What is it?
My favorite is Ragatagle Gypsies.
Raggle Taggle Gypsy. I like the name.
So hard to do vibrato. I'm addicted to this piece, though. I play it over and over again. I'm working on it.
I'm proud of you. Proud of you. You really are coming along because I know that's an extraordinarily narrowly difficult instrument to learn.
Yeah.
I tried once. I could not. I could not get anything serviceable to come out. It sounded. Oh, I don't even want to say what it sounded like. The only instrument I've ever played in my life is the E flat alto saxophone, which I played in high school band. But coincidentally, that's the same instrument that Lucille Ball played. She played it on I Love Lucy and played it purposely very badly. But I understand in real life, according to her brother Fred, she was actually quite good. They had a family band, Lucille Ball. And when she was growing up in the 1920s, they had a family band, in the parlor. Their mother played the piano. I think her brother Fred played the cello. She played the saxophone. It was before there was television, even radio. So families entertained themselves like that. Yeah.
And what did she play?
The E flat alto saxophone, like she played on I Love Lucy. Only, remember Ethel said it sounds like a moose with a head cold when she tried to play.
I'm making a ton of mistakes because I didn't warm up. But after I've played it a few times, it will sound.
Yeah, no, I can hear the progress. Yeah, you've
well,
been working hard.
That's almost 2.5 years of studying at about half an hour to an hour a day. So that gives you, and but I like my tone. I have good tone.
Yeah.
That's what they
Yes, you
say. You
do.
got good tone,
Well,
baby.
I like how it just gives you a sense of peace and joy. Somewhere I've got a drawing that I still need to give to you. I did a drawing of you playing your violin.
I think
And
I have it. Didn't you send it to me?
well, maybe I did send it to you. Maybe I did. I can't
I have it.
remember. But I just remembered when I was looking, because it was from a photograph I took of you on my phone when you were here. And you just had a lovely sense of peace about you. And I just said, I've got to draw this and give it to you.
Yeah, like now I'm able to actually play stuff, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But it's very frustrating because it's just so hard of an instrument to play.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it's so it's just I take breaks and between patients, and I practice throughout the day.
Well, you
So
have to have something just to calm and steady yourself.
I
I'm
love it.
sure.
I love
I'm sure
it.
it's grounding for you, also.
Yeah, it is, and I'm getting there. I'm getting there,
Yes, you
folks.
are.
I
Yes, you
figure
are.
by next year I'm gonna be in a much better
Next
place.
year, Hollywood Bowl,
Next year,
Carnegie Hall, Carnegie
well,
Hall.
you have to do, I think, to be, at the level of being in the Philharmonic, you've got to do at least 10,000 hours. And so 10,000 hours is a lot of hours. So
Yes, it is.
if you're only doing half an hour or an hour a day, say I did half an hour a day, that's not a lot of hours. That's 365 hours a year times 2. So
Ooh.
I've done 730, we'll say 365 times 3. Let's be generous with me.
Be generous. You just are
I've done 1,000 hours, so I have to do 10 times what
10 times that. You better get to work, darling. You better get to work.
Yeah, to reach the level of being a master. That's how many hours you've got to play to be
How
good.
many hours realistically could you do in a day? Realistically.
I do an hour, but I've done days where I've done 4 hours, which is why I went ahead and gave myself 1,000 hours. But I mean, realistically, it's close to about 800 to 1,000. So if you are doing, we're talking about 20 years. I mean,
Yeah.
divided by, say, 800 hours, we'll be conservative, 800 hours, 12.5 years. So I've got 10 and a half more years before I reach master level.
Whoa. You got to get to work.
Who knows if I'll live long enough to reach master
You
level.
will, because you do the Dr. Whimsy diet.
You know what I had on my diet last night?
What did you
And
have
boy, did
last
I
night?
pay for it. I
Uh-oh.
was in a bad mood. I went to the zoo. It was $26 to
Yep.
get to the zoo. Let me tell you about my bad zoo experience.
Okay.
First off, they've fired 90% of their employees. So there's nobody at the zoo.
Budget cuts.
I mean, they're probably going to get to automatically feeding the animals. So you go in, there's nobody to greet you. Instead, there's a computer saying, "Hello, welcome to the zoo. If you'd like to enter, please download the app." So you've got to do all this stuff, and then it wouldn't take my Apple Pay, so I had to. It was really annoying. And then there's no senior discount, so I had to pay $26 to get it. This is just the beginning. $26 to get into the zoo. And then when you get there, all the good food courts where you could go and you could get a tuna fish sandwich, a baked potato, and
I know where this is going.
Yeah, it's gone.
Cotton candy.
It's all automated, pre-packaged salads that you can get the same salad at Trader Joe's for under $5. They're selling it for $14.50.
That's typical. Typical
places. Like you're just pushing in button, and then they're like, leave a tip. A tip for the machine.
For the machine.
There's one person there that reads it. You've already paid and says, "Here's your salad." That's his job. Is to hand you the salad.
Thank you.
From the refrigerator that's pre-packaged. I'm like, what am I paying for?
I know. I mean, I believe in tipping, showing gratitude where it's due, but like these places where all you do is just get rung up at the register and they want you to tip them for that, for doing their job. I've never.
You didn't ring me up.
Just handed it to you and wanted to tip.
You book it out like that, and then you pay, scan your Apple, And then a guy says, Whimsy, and hands you a prepackaged salad. And I gave him, what, a 20% tip for going Whimsy. And the rest is of his friends or computers. So,
yeah. Well, hopefully the computers divided it amongst themselves.
Exactly. And the takeaway here is that the zoo is cost prohibitive for the average American citizen, because in our day, when I was a kid, the family would go to the zoo. You'd have your husband, your wife, the kids would get in free, or it would be 50 cents. And the government would subsidize, because it would be a state run. There'd be federal and state money that would go to support the zoos. But that's all gone now. So now you're paying 10 times more. You're paying $26, no senior discount, and children $21 to get in.
Outrageous.
So it's more than going to a movie. So if you're a family of 4, that's 26 per person, 21 for the kids, and then they all want to eat at the automated whatever. You're talking about shelling out a couple $100 if you take your family to the zoo. And
or
so
just the movie theater, even.
Actually, the movie theater is cheaper.
But I'm just saying, even that's outrageous for similar reasons. And like here in LA, you have to pay to park almost anywhere you go. So you have to figure in the parking and then the actual tickets. And then, like you said, the concession stand, everything is just ridiculously overpriced.
Yeah, I mean, it's just America is not livable. I mean, my sister and I, we went to a free zoo when we were in France. It was the private zoo that's somewhere in France, that's in Paris, that's not part of the regular tourist gig. But we were just taking buses, and my sister was like me, just riding the buses with me. And this bus took us up in the middle of the mountains, in the middle of nowhere in Paris. And he said, get out here and walk across the street. And we went to university's campus that had an archaeology department and paleontology and ethnobotany and all this other stuff. And they had their own personal zoo, and there was no price to get in. And we just walked around. Or if there was a price, it couldn't have been more than a couple of euro.
Yeah.
So I just don't. It's just, and everything was automated, and I just thought, what the hell is happening to America?
Well,
like
I was saying earlier, I worry about the fate of a lot of the animals in the zoo. Because they need that connection from human beings. That interaction. They need to feel that they're being loved, they're being cared about. Not just having food thrown at them from a machine. That's a miserable existence for them.
Well, it brings up the conversation I'd wanted to have last week, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it, which has to do with the whole idea of America becoming automated. And what do we lose when everything gets turned into
the personal touch, of course,
automation? And so, because I was so disgusted about what happened, I decided to film it so people could experience this is life in American zoos today. Remember when people used to welcome to the zoo and hi and oh, your kids are so cute. And that was part of the joy of going to the zoo.
Yeah.
You got to meet the people welcome you. This is what will welcome you when you get to the zoo. As you can see, there's nobody there. That's your welcome.
Yeah.
And so that takes away from the experience. I'm going to show you just a couple minutes of this to give you an idea of what automation has turned into now at the zoo.
Welcome to the Oregon Zoo. Reservations are required for all non-members. Purchase tickets online at oregonzoo.org and select the Buy Tickets button. Please have your tickets ready to scan and provide supporting documentation for any specialty tickets. Members, please show your digital membership card or reservation together with your photo ID for all named members. Don't forget to pay for parking using a pay station or the Parking Kitty app.
That's it. This
Oh.
is who greets you when you get there.
You know, I was thinking it's almost like a parody, like one of those movies set in the future where everything's by robots.
Is on a mission.
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's a
Oh, no.
commercial.
But no, my first thought was how grim and soulless
Yes.
it is.
Yeah.
Like all the joy is drained out.
Yeah. And that was the contrast I showed. We keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going on the trip.
I still worry about those animals. Animals are too sensitive to energy.
Yeah. Nobody there.
Oh.
It's like, this is my place. Yeah, this is mine.
Everything is automated.
So the kids want a drink after they see the zoo. There's nobody there to say, hey, would you like an ice? Remember we used to go and get ice cream cones? They're
Sure.
gone.
They're gone.
Now this is what waits for you.
A drink automated. Why you'd want to convert cash is anybody's guess to me, because nobody's using cash.
So then I go in and I decide to go into the restaurant, and you guessed it, there's nobody there to take my order. So I'm complaining. And instead of taking my order, look what's there. Automation. There's nobody there to greet me. That computer is what's waiting to greet me.
Oh.
And that was my experience at the zoo. And you can see there's simply nobody attending to the animals. They've dramatically reduced the people caring for the
I worry about that.
So maybe they get stimulation once or twice a day for feedings, but they have cut back also on interacting with the animals. And so,
Poor things.
you know, how bad is it going to get before we realize we've headed in a very dangerous direction with automation and artificial intelligence? And this is precisely what I was talking to everybody about before, which is that if we think that those animals are not going to become depressed, if we're not going to see higher mortality rates, etc., by cutting staff.
Yeah.
But it all starts at the top, because why does it cost $26 to go to the Oregon Zoo? $21 for ages 2 to 11 who are children. And that's what's greeting me, a freaking boombox?
Right.
Because the feds and the state are not paying for the zoos anymore.
I'm even wondering how much more the care of the animals is going to go down. You know, right now they're not getting human interaction, attention. They're at least being fed. But what's going to happen is less and less people go to the zoo, and they have to cut more things from their budget.
Yeah.
Because I think this happened during the Great Depression. During the 1930s, there were zoos that could not afford to sustain themselves, and there were poor animals in the cages.
Yeah, they sold them to the circus.
Yeah, their ribs were showing because they were being severely malnourished, underfed. Yeah, I worry about that again.
Barnum and Bailey bought the animals.
Really?
And that became an ethical issue, is can they sell? I think they outlawed it. Now they can't sell their old abused animals to the circus anymore.
But I tell you, in this current government, this current environment, I wonder if that's going to happen again.
I'm so glad I shot that video, and I really hope it reverberates as a warning cry to everybody. This was yesterday I did this.
Yeah.
You know, what the hell is happening here?
I know Joel Tilson just had a comment here. Automated animals next. I'm thinking like those hydraulic animals at Disneyland. I mean, or people, I should say. People and animals and puppets. Are we going to have that? Or are we just going to have video screens in the cages of the animals, what they once looked like?
You know, how do you feel as Americans? Do you want to go to the zoo and have that experience? How do you feel about paying $26 for yourself, $26 for your partner, and $21 for your children, and then going to an automated machine to get your ice cream, and there's no nice man there with the hat handing out candy anymore?
those are things we took for granted when we were kids, like the peanut
Oh, God, no.
vendors, the circus, ice, like you said, getting an ice cream cone.
That was part of the joy, was interacting with the guy who had the hat, and he was like, peanuts, get your peanuts, when you would go to a Dodgers game.
Yeah. I was being very facetious. I was being facetious with you, and I said cotton candy because that's like the antithesis of a healthy diet. But,
and we got the slushies.
But we got that when we were kids.
Cones, the cones that had the syrup. Yeah. And there was a guy there with a hat. That was the magic.
That was part of the experience, getting your face all sticky with cotton candy in your fingers and stuff, and it's...
Maybe we do have to shut the zoos down and give it all to petting zoos and safaris and let people pay to stay in their car and watch the animals in their natural habitat.
Be more humane for the animals.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. So who's here, Chuck? After that, let's go ahead. I think everybody's here. We can go ahead and start the show.
Well, let me go back up here to the top of the list here. We have Gigi.
Welcome, everyone.
Yes, welcome, everybody. Gigi Pardo Lord, Intuitive Kathy.
I needed to vent. What can I tell you?
Well, it's for a good cause. Our wonderful Joel Tilson is here, our floor director.
Hi, Joel.
Dharma Songbird.
Hi, Dharma.
I like that name. Charlene, Renee, Tina, Sheila, Wendy Burt, the wonderful designer of your fabulous hat. Let's see, Rock and Pony Lady, Clarence Fields.
Oh my goodness.
Joanne, Vilma. Oh, we have lots of good people here today. Desiree, M, Audrey, Gloria, Ingrid, Scorpio 8763, Marlene, M. Said M. Kathy. Yes.
Well, we will continue saying hi to everybody as we go along. Webb Shiva says basically what I said. It was a funky zoo, but we are living in a dystopian world that devalues natural human interactions. Well, what I said was, I am a senior Homo sapiens sapien. That's what I am. I'm a Homo sapiens sapien senior. I'm this senior chimp. Is the senior Homo sapiens sapien that's gone into the zoo, and I'm being treated like shit. So I can't imagine that they would be treating my cousins, the chimps, any better.
Animals are extraordinarily intuitive. They know what's going on. Yeah.
So listen, Chuck, have you gotten to our book of the month?
Yes, I have it on my iPad, and I would pull it up right now to hold up, but I don't want to lose my notes on my iPad here. But I do have it, and I'm reading it, and I'm looking forward to our interview next Tuesday.
So what are you feeling about, there's so many things I like about this. Where do I get started? I love the fact that the lead is educated. And I like the fact that she owns her own company, that she's an artist, that she owns her own company. I like the fact that it deals with the subject of transmigration of souls, reincarnation, soulmates, etc. It's romantic, it's intriguing, it brings up ethical issues. There's just a lot to it. Are you enjoying the book?
Well, yeah, and I was just going to say that all the things you're bringing up, like ethical issues, those I think are part of why we keep reincarnating, to keep learning lessons around that, to keep perfecting ourselves. And it's something it's like a spiral where I don't think we ever stop learning. We ever stop growing and evolving.
Well, it goes to this issue of is part of being alive that we all use everybody. Does life eat life? Is that pretty much all it is? Is life just eating life? Are we all just on trying a scam? Is it all just trying to get some gullible person to buy whatever it is we're selling? So that is, or is that person just, what does it mean to be a human being? Ultimately, I think is the question. What does it mean to be a human being? And is it just everybody is on the take? And, c'est la vie. You're either being, on the take, or you're being taked. And is that ultimately what it is to be a human being? Are we all in this desperate power trip to take control? And is that ultimately the death spiral of our relationships with our soulmate? Is that we can't? I wouldn't call it ego. Ego is not the right word.
Mm-hmm.
They're using the wrong word. Ego is not the right
Yeah.
word. When we talk about these challenges that she goes into in our interpersonal relationships, I think that what I see is a need for power and control.
Well, we're certainly seeing that going on right now. That's a predominant theme of what's happening with our government right now. This authoritarian rule we're seeing, power and control, and also, frankly, a lot of people not being treated like human beings. I'm seeing increasing disrespect for humanity, just us as humans, just like we were talking about disrespect for these animals.
So how do we fix it, Chuck? How do we
How
fix
do we
it?
fix it? That's the billion-dollar question there. I don't think there's an easy answer to that. We could talk about this one for hours. How do we fix that? But I like to think it's about honoring our own humanity, loving ourselves, have love for ourselves, have respect for others, love others, just basic integrity and decency. I think that's where it begins. And then I think it's mirrored back to us. If I had to give an answer off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you feel?
I feel like, if human beings cannot get control of themselves, then maybe we do need we do need to be controlled. That is ultimately how much freedom. I've been thinking of this book has caused me to ask myself a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
We can't afford to be naive. We can't afford to be naive. We cannot assume that every person that approaches us because they want to love us. No, they're approaching us because they want to get something from us.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's an exchange. Every time somebody is approaching us, it's an exchange. And we have to
A
think.
payoff. Yeah.
Right. So we have to think in terms of, she goes into the whole karma of, why is this person approaching you? Why does this person want to have a relationship with you? Why is this person attracted to you? There's something that you have that they want to get from you, and that's the exchange. And the reason that you're attracted to them is there's something I want that I want to get from you. And we are the receivers and we are the takers. And we often see ourselves, well, I'm a helpless victim. All he wanted was sex, or all he wanted was my wallet. All you wanted was. But another way of viewing it, which I think she gets into, is this idea of everything is an exchange of energy.
Mm-hmm.
If that person is approaching you, there is a reason why they're approaching you, and they want to get something from you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're approaching them, be willing to look at your shadow. And it's not necessarily even a shadow.
Yeah.
Be willing to understand that every interaction is an exchange. That person is there to get something, and you're there to get something.
Mm-hmm. Well, I definitely agree with the idea of everything being an exchange. And I even had a spiritual teacher once say to me those very words: we all want a payoff of some kind. There's something that we are wanting to have, but I don't know if it's necessarily bad intentioned. It just depends on the circumstances. There are many ways of looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that she gets into is this idea that we often see ourselves as victims, like whether it's a divorce. An example would be, we have a problem in the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community where a lot of women get divorced from their husbands, and then they decide that they don't want to be ultra-Orthodox Jewish anymore, and they think that their community is behind them. They think that their rabbi is going to support them, and they soon find out that the rabbi is taking the man's side. Then they lose their children in custody battles to go off and be raised as Hasidic Jews in Muncie, New York, and they're out. They've lost their children. They've lost everything simply
Completely
because
ostracized by their own society.
Right. Yeah. And what that's about is that these men and women grow up in polar societies. Even in the United States, we have a polar society between males and females. So men are spending time with men and women are spending time with women. So who are the men praying with? They're praying with other men. So he gets up in the morning, he goes to the synagogue, and he prays the morning service with his male friends. And they talk and they chat. And then at lunch, he comes and he prays the afternoon service. And these are kids These are people he grew up with. Maybe he went to seminary with when he was a kid. And then at the Mariv service, the evening service, he's back at the synagogue. So who do these men know? Who have they bonded with? Who is their age mate from who they grew up with? The man. So they have already established this complicated relationship with the man. And so so what do they know about him? Oh, poor Chaim. He's going through a difficult time with his marriage. His wife doesn't want to be, she's left God. So all of the attention is on poor Chaim. Chaim is the victim. We have to help poor Chaim. We grew up with him. He's our age mate. We all of our time is with him. And so she cannot expect people that don't know her to have more empathy for her than the guy that they grew up with. And so this is how we inadvertently start helping flying monkeys. This is how we become flying monkeys ourselves, because we immediately begin to gravitate towards taking the side of the person we have spent more time with versus the stranger. And the stranger may be on the right ethical side of things.
Exactly. I kept thinking as you were talking, it's dehumanizing the woman, almost treating her like she's an accessory or just a discarded possession.
It goes back to the issues of exchange. He married her because he wanted to get something. He wanted to get a nice Jewish woman. He wanted to keep a kosher, religious, ultra-Orthodox Jewish household. He thought she felt the same way. Children. And he thought that she felt the same way. But 5 or 6 children later, she's physically exhausted. She's expected to work on Shabbat, feeding all of his friends, raise these children, and she's expected to go out and get a job. The life of an Orthodox Jewish woman is very hard because they're expected not only to raise the kids, but be the breadwinner. And the man sits in the synagogue and learns all day. His job is to sit and eat cake and study the Torah, because every Jewish boy thinks he's the Messiah, right? You know, so she becomes disillusioned and she starts looking out beyond this world, often because she has a secular education, because she's expected to go and get a job. So she becomes a nurse or a social worker or something. And this exposes her to the outside world. And she starts feeling, well, I'm kind of being exploited here. Even on Shabbat, even on the day of rest, I'm busting my ass serving 20 people at the Shabbat table. I'm exhausted on Shabbat. Well, you're supposed to be an Eshet Chayil. You're supposed to be a righteous woman who works from when the sun goes down, from the sun comes up until the sun goes down. And that's a righteous woman. So it's often just physical exhaustion and breakdowns that cause her to, because it's not sustainable. But the reason I bring all of this up is not to bash the ultra-Orthodox or any kind of high control group, whether it's that or the Mormon, polygamy sects, or any of these that are high control groups in cults of consciousness. She talks about this every week with a different victim. But it goes back to the issue of wanting control for your own personal benefit. And is this part of the human condition? And how do we all participate in some extent by having fantasies about what the other person is going to do for us?
Certainly projecting our fantasies onto other people, what they're going to do for us.
I got a divorce from a guy who had built up in his mind a fantasy that because I was a doctor, he could sit around and write plays and I was going to pay for everything. But he forgot to mention it to me. He just assumed.
Oh, he forgot to mention that little detail to you.
That I was going to be the nice Jewish woman that was going to cook and clean and give him money and be the primary breadwinner. And that he could just lie and make up stories about taking care. Come on, you don't really expect me to do any of the things I said I was going to do. Of course, you're going to give me money, right? So it goes back to that whole idea: do human beings need to be controlled? Must we control them? Must humans be placed under control?
We certainly need to educate people more.
But I don't want to be educated. I want to take her money and make her my little sex puppy. And I can, because it goes back to this issue of I want control. I want complete control. I want your money. I want sex. I want a hot Shabbos meal at the table. I want and feed my friends while you're at it. And you're to be seen and not heard, because women are to
Yeah.
remain silent. They're not allowed to sing in public. The
mean,
men sing in the Jewish community, but we are not to sing. Your voice will cause sexual arousement. You are to sit with your head covered in a a head covering
Mhm.
while we have a party, and your job is to serve us and get the hell out of our way, except you're to supply sex and bring me money.
Mhm.
And if you don't do these things, then you're a bad Jew.
Mhm.
If you leave, you're a bad Jew. So there's no wiggle room in
Yeah.
that, which is why I stopped practicing Judaism. I left because I never knew Judaism was a sexist religion until I moved to Israel, because I'd been raised Reform. I bat mitzvahed. Women were becoming rabbis. It was great. I was so happy as a Reform Jew. And then I went to
Yeah.
Israel, and there's no wiggle room. No, we do it the ultra-Orthodox way.
Yeah.
Women are to sit in the back of the bus. They have Jim Crow law. I mean, like they have even beaten up female soldiers who refuse to go to the back of the bus.
Oh my God.
Men in the front, women in the back. It's Jim Crow law. And no, it's all about control. So even religion is an extension of a need for control. I must control you under my thumb. A girl, give me the money, give me the sex, give me the. If she leaves, she's an evil, horrible, terrible person.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's fundamentally who human beings are, a need for control and exploitation of one another,
Mm-hmm.
is this great experiment called being a human being doomed? Is Israel, the state of Israel, doomed? Because I think if they continue on this ultra-Orthodox trajectory, and the ultra-Orthodox are now working with the ultra-extreme Christian right, who are practically neo-Nazis. They want to turn Israel into an evangelical Christian country. I mean, like, if they continue on this trajectory, my theory is that Israel's finished as a country, as the great experiment, that there's not going to be a state of Israel.
It just sounds like what you're describing ultimately is unsustainable. Just like a lot of things we're seeing right now are not sustainable by the universe. It has to sooner or later fall apart, break apart, implode. That's not working. And when you say humans being controlled, my first thought was, well, who's the superior being that's going to do the controlling?
Well, they will gaslight you. They will say, in Judaism, we believe that women are on a higher spiritual level. That's why you don't need to study the Talmud. That's why you don't need to be a rabbi. All you need to do is supply sex and cook and clean and scrub the shit out of the toilets like any good scullery maid, and bring me the money, honey. I need to sit all day and learn the Torah. I don't need to get a job because I'm not as elevated as you. So you need to clean the toilet. You need to change the diapers. You need to scrub the floors. You need to bake the challah like a good Jewish girl. And then once a month, you also have to take yourself to a public bath and bathe yourself in a spiritual bath called the mikvah, because we think you're spiritually dirty. So menstrual cycle makes women spiritually dirty. They're pictures of filth, right? And so you're not just there to be exploited as a baby maker. You're also to supply work, sex, money, and to cleanse yourself, because you're also spiritually filthy.
So what ultimate gaslighting?
Why didn't it work?
Ultimate gaslighting to say you're an elevated being. You already are. So yeah, scrub the toilet.
You're an elevated being who is here to basically be a slave.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're a Jewish woman, which I am, and you say, I don't really like the way I'm being treated here. The synagogue is separated. Males and females are separated. The men sit in the front of the ultra-Orthodox synagogue, and the women are in the balcony if they are lucky. If they are unlucky, they are only given a cage, a dog's cage. So some of the synagogues, like the one across the street from Makane Yehuda, from the market, you're just given a cage to sit in. So when the men go off and pray, they have a little metal cage and they close it, and you sit in the cage like a dog. And you wait for the man to come and let you out. I can't understand why Whimsy left. You must,
Yeah.
why don't you like living in Israel? It's so great in Israel. No, it's not great in Israel. It's a hellhole for women, and they don't care. They don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about Jewish women. They don't care about women's rights. It's all BS. And I mean, like it, and I'm not just attacking Orthodox Judaism. I'm attacking all organized religion, because organized religion is about control.
Control. Yes, I agree.
So she's talking about, can we get past that? Can we get past it and just become spiritual beings? Or is that why we keep, and that, by the way, is why we keep reincarnating. That's, it's interesting that in the beginning of the story, she kind of, healthy male energy is really sexy. Male power, when she opens with the prologue, she's looking for her soulmate. She keeps dreaming of him. She dreams of him, but it goes back to that power trip. Well, I want to be in my power as a goddess. Well, I want to be in my power as a god. When her eyes search the room and she sees him and he turns and he flashes that smile, her breath is taken away. He was still stunning, the radiance reminding her of the sun. He was like Ra, the god Ra. So the sun being the yang, the yin attracts the yang. And that is the fundamental challenge of being a human being is, can we truly love one another, love one another's differences, see the energetic exchange between these two people as a gift without the need to control and dominate?
Yeah.
And this book is really good.
And it certainly makes sense why we would keep coming back to learn that lesson. It's so simple, but yet it's so complicated. Hence why it probably takes numerous lifetimes if we ever master it.
And there's some men that are really good people. And in all religions, I've met really elevated men that are Mormon, Jewish. I've met elevated men that are Jewish, or ultra Orthodox, Haredi, the strictest. So it isn't necessarily even bashing ultra Orthodoxy or Mormonism or anything else, because there are just some people who are inherently good. They understand that things have to be balanced. They're inherently compassionate people. They're not out to control everybody. But I think that that's the difference between somebody who's a charlatan and somebody who is truly a great soul. You know what I mean? It is whether or not what they're doing is an intent to control you, or whether what they're trying to do is to have a genuine exchange with you that's beneficial to both people.
Yeah, to serve.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead. I'm just been in a pissed off at the world since the zoo yesterday.
It's not, I mean, that's something, because a zoo is something that's joyous. It's supposed to put you in a good mood, but it still provoked you to think, to feel. Maybe it served a different purpose for you.
Because it's the same concept, life eating life. I'm being exploited and I feel angry. I have lost the zoo of my childhood. What happened to the zoo?
Well, and also you're going
Control. You want my money.
Yeah. And then the whole theme of the zoo itself is animals being exploited. You're witnessing it. You're talking about cages, literal cages, animals being exploited, just put on view for everyone. Again, am I saying this correctly? Maitri Prashad. My kids refuse to be part of the church. They truly believe that they can be good people without someone telling them what to do. I always agree with that. There was a time I was going to a Science of Mind church, like 30 years ago. There was a wonderful charismatic minister, Marlene Morris. I really respected her. And she used to say to us, you don't have to be here in this church to worship God. You can worship God on a golf course. You can be sitting at home with your coffee and your Sunday paper and celebrate God. And I really respected her for saying that. You don't have to.
So why do we really go to church if we can do that? We go to church so that we cannot be alone and we can be with people we trust who love God, who are on a spiritual path, and then we can how goodly it is when brethren dwell together. Well, I don't feel like brethren are dwelling together. I feel like I'm stuck in a damn cage, sitting here told to be silent. I'm a singer. I
Yeah.
trained as a singer, and I'm not allowed to sing mitzvah gidola leo. No, I got to sit there listening to these men who can't carry a tune. They're horrible. Sing, and I'm just supposed to sit there disappearing while they all talk about my body, but they're doing it in a kosher way. Oh, she's such a good looker. Is she married? Maybe we can set her up with Chaim. It's like, I found it so inappropriate, and when I wasn't, and I have to play the good little girl and serve the cholent. Cholent is a bean stew we serve on Saturday. I was just like, this is not who I am. Well, then
No.
you're not. Then I had
No.
an ultra Orthodox Jewish guy say to me, "You're not being true to your nature." Oh, kiss off. Like,
Oh,
if I
yes,
won't let them dominate me, if I won't be a subservient Jewish woman pushing out a new baby every 2 years while simultaneously juggling, serving the best cholent, serving the best kugel, and bringing them money, and she brings in the money, and her clothes are great, and her kids are healthy, and her kids look great because she makes all their clothes too. Oh, she doesn't sleep. She's on amphetamines. It's like, how else could you accomplish that? It's just, give me a damn break. And if you complain, well, then you're not being a good Jewish. I'm so done with all that crap.
Well, that's why you don't subscribe to that.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have to lose your country because of it. You shouldn't have to lose your culture and your religion and say, that's it, I'm off to be a Buddhist. That's it. I'm a Nichiren Daishonin Buddhist, which is egalitarian, by the way. The reason why I joined an egalitarian, the reason why I became a Nichiren Daishonin Buddhist was because there's no gender apartheid at all. They don't believe in gender apartheid. I'm like, okay, I'll sign up for that. So the only thing when we oppress and when we violate and dominate the other is that they leave. They start loathing the culture and the people they came from, and then they go and join another culture because these people are nice, or I'm going to give them my money. So I'm not going to donate to your synagogue. I'm going to go donate to this temple over here.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was going to say it's almost like it's slowly imploding as the women leave. It's falling apart.
Yeah, and it's a shame because it is another expression of a need to control. And it goes back to religion is male created and spirituality is what? Female dominated? Is that what's happening here? Are we seeing the death of organized religion because women have had enough?
Well, it's interesting because spirituality
is that the awakening?
Because spirituality often is referred to as feminine energy. We hear those terms: masculine energy, feminine energy. One of my favorite spiritual writers, Shakti Gawain, wrote about this in a number of her books.
How did you wind up not screwed up? Like, you and I are very close friends, and my therapist, I was like, I hate men. She's like, really, you hate all men? I'm like, well, no, not my assistant Chuck. He's a spiritual guy. He doesn't do these things. Okay, right. So all men are not. No, I like Joel. I like Anton, who helps sometimes. I like my brother-in-law. He seems cool. So obviously not all men are screwed up.
Of course
but
not.
The jackasses of the world seem to be so loud, these men. They seem to be
bullies tend to make a lot of noise. They tend to be very loud. It's been said that some of the weakest people are the loudest because they need to project an image of strength. They need that facade of strength by being loud, by being obnoxious.
You were going to say something about Shakti Gawain. I'm sorry.
What was I going to say? I just said, I knew Shakti very well. She's the author of Creative Visualization, the bestseller.
Right, I've
but
read
she
it.
wrote often about feminine energy versus masculine energy. Feminine energy being the spiritual. Masculine energy tends to be more about industrialization, building, destroying, controlling, as opposed to the feminine energy. And that's why we hear many saying that feminine energy is eventually going to take over the world. It has to, for the world to survive, because it's been so out of balance for so many centuries.
Didn't Jesus say man, old, young, man, woman, all something like that, all are the same in Christ Jesus? They don't appear to all be the same in Christ Jesus.
I don't know.
Does anybody know that quote? What is it? Old, young, man, woman, all are the same in Christ Jesus? So it's like, then you look at all the gender, but well, it's a Middle Eastern part of the world. The Bible comes from the Middle East. I just, it's all terrible. Let's do the empath prayer.
Yes.
Let's do some blitzes. I just got pissed. I be in my bonnet since I got back from the zoo. It's all
Well,
about damn control and taking our money.
I think the zoo did what it was supposed to do. It was supposed to incite you. You know,
All
so
right.
we can talk about it now. It's
I'm
provocative.
sorry, folks. I'm just pissed and I want justice.
Well, that's okay. Your passion for justice.
Yeah. If you would like to receive a healing at this time, go ahead and give us your name, and we will include you in our prayers. Yeah, Joel says he took his marriage vows seriously to love your wife. When was the last? A word that we're losing in the English language is called cherished.
Yes.
I cherish you. I've been cherished. Beloved, I cherish you. So it's a word we need to bring back into the English language again, is the word to cherish.
Well, to cherish is also to honor, to respect, to honor, to adore, to appreciate, for all the dimensions of that. You're right.
All right. Without further ado, let's bring in the empath prayer, and then we will blitz, blitz, blitz away now that I've gotten it out of my system.
Okay.
Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively, as a community, we say Amen. And for those people today who are requesting a healing, we come together at this time and we pray. We pray that you and those you love receive a perfect healing in mind, body, and in spirit. And again, together as a community, we say Amen. Amen, amen, amen. May all souls be healed. Chucky Poo.
Yes.
I've been thinking about human rights and the United Nations Bill of Human Rights, which was presented in 1950. Do you know who wrote that?
Eleanor Roosevelt had a part in that.
She did. What do you think of Eleanor Roosevelt? Do you think that she was ahead of her time?
Very much so. I'm a great admirer of Mrs. Roosevelt, and you asked me to channel someone for the Thursday show, and usually I'm going with a lot of movie stars and so forth. I did channel Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. Well, I felt, what would Eleanor Roosevelt have to say? And let me just pull this up on my iPad here. I apologize, just one moment. This is my specialty. I channel spirits. I don't go into any trances or anything like that. I just sit with pen and paper. I meditate. I get extremely grounded. And I just listen from here. And I start writing down words. And many times I don't know if the words are going to make sense or what. But when I read it back, I get complete sentences. And I also get the personality of the person. And I also just know intuitively that it is the person. And so I asked Eleanor Roosevelt if she had anything she'd like to say to the viewers on our show. And she was intrigued. When I asked the night before she channeled, she said she wanted to talk about the topic of fear and its danger of disempowerment, false allegiance, and false saviors. And she said to me, hold on, she said to me, as I was writing, I watched the rise of Hitler with great vested interest starting in 1933. But in my public role as Franklin's wife, I used great discretion. Perhaps I should have been far more outspoken in my outrage for the apparent brutality and suffering emerging out of Europe. My role was of delicate balance. I am bothered by the suffering and brutality that is now taking place on our own soil, obviously referring to America. I am greatly distressed by the disregard for every single soul, which matters greatly. Should put that in parentheses, which matters greatly. I am greatly distressed by the disregard for every single soul. It disturbs me that your own president cannot recognize that the life of a migrant worker in a car wash in Los Angeles matters every bit in importance to his own life. I fought for human rights. Whatever gains I may have facilitated must not be in vain. It is also a reminder of how fragile that work was, and life constantly has to be breathed into it in order to survive. You said life has to constantly be breathed into it. No one is better or superior to another. No one. That is the fatal mistake of anyone striving to become a dictator, and their attempts to base an authoritarian rule on that core concept of one person being superior to all.
Yeah.
That is why dictators almost always fail. It is unsupportable and against the laws of nature. The strength and sheer will of the people, the common man and woman stepping up. The collective power of each and every individual is a torch of fire. It balances and it equalizes. No man or woman has the right to hinder or take away that power. It is a God-given birthright, sacred. Donald Trump has no idea what a sleeping giant he has awakened. His mission has been to weaken each and every one of you. Instead, he has fed your fire and made you more powerful. And then she said, eventually it will consume him. Whimsy, I got goosebumps. And there was no way I would have written something like that. That was Eleanor Roosevelt speaking. That was the message she wanted to give you. I don't know, Whimsy, how did that hit you?
I think that she's right. It's a fire that will consume us, and I don't think that it's sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that if we don't get the messages of what, I know I went on a bit of a rant today, but it was but there was a point to the rant, and that is this need, people needing to control us and get our money, and rip us off. I don't want to be ripped off when I go to the zoo. I don't want to be ripped off by my government. And I'm left wondering, how long has our government been evil? Because this government, the American government, is evil. Have we just been lying to ourselves this whole time? If you have been making deal with the FBI to cover the names of high-profile people that were raping children, if you made that deal in the name of America and I pay taxes, that's evil. And
but what fascinates me is many times I will ask one of these souls for a message, not even knowing what our topics are going to be, what you're going to talk about. And it amazes me how Eleanor knew somehow what you were going to be addressing, because there are lines in here like, no one is better or superior to another. No one. And she said that is the fatal mistake of anyone striving, well, she said to be a dictator, but I think she also meant anyone trying to have control. Nobody has that right, ultimately. We're all equal as one. And you'll note that Eleanor also used the words man and woman. She used that several times. We're all equal. Oh, I love that, Mary. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget that Ghislaine was a pedophile. I mean, it's there are plenty of madams out there exploiting
Exactly.
other victims.
Well,
So
we talked about that on another show. Usually we think of pedophiles, child trafficking as a male dominant thing. And here's a woman who's just as complicit as anyone. Every bit is guilty. Every bit is evil, in my opinion. Oh, Barbara, thank you. It moved me tremendously. See, I don't take credit for this. When I channel this, I'm just a vessel to receive. And I even reread this before we did our show, and I got goosebumps from it. No, this is not me. This is Mrs. Roosevelt. And I love Eleanor Roosevelt very much. I've read probably, I don't know how many biographies of her I've read, and I've studied her, and I've admired the example she set. I even have, I wish I had thought to get it. Somewhere I've got a framed autograph, Eleanor Roosevelt. I just bought it because I wanted her energy in my home. Joel Tilson says, take money out of politics, problem solved. And I almost want to say to that, yeah, I agree, but easier said than done. It's very
So I don't think it's going to get better until we rise up and we start dragging them, same thing, I feel I write a blog. I haven't written for a while. I need to get back into it for the Times of Israel. And I think part of what I want to do in that blog from now is start calling out corruption there, just as much as we need to call it out here in the United States. But we have got to demand people like Peter Thiel be held accountable, Elon Musk, the big money. No, you don't get to hide behind your army of robots and private security. You messed with our elections. You're not even a frickin' American citizen. He lied to get into the country. I mean, he probably made a deal with the intelligence agencies to stay, and that's my opinion. But
probably when you've got that kind of wealth, you've got the power that goes with it.
Well, I mean, he dropped out of Stanford and got into PayPal, and I think the FBI wanted to monitor Fed payments because they were trying to traffic. They were trying to track money through human trafficking, etc. So more than likely he was working with intelligence like NSA, and that was probably why they threw him a bone and let him stay in the country. But it's still just ghastly. Okay, Russia still sending drones to Poland and still getting shot down today. Can we officially now say that Russia has declared war on NATO?
It certainly is leaning in that direction. It hasn't officially been said, but it sounds that way. We've been getting that more and more. NATO is undoubtedly going to have no choice, but to intercede. Poland used sirens throughout the country to warn citizens about possible conflict with Russia and Belarus. Belarus, excuse me.
Let's take a look and see if anything is going to be happening in the next couple weeks. Let's throw some cards on the situation in Russia with Poland. How any changes we see at all about how this is going to resolve in the next 2 weeks?
In the next 2 weeks,
yeah,
I'm thinking it's going to take more than that, but
let's just see what movements we see in the next couple weeks. If we see a response by NATO. So the subject will be NATO's response from NATO's perspective.
Response of NATO. Response of NATO. Right now, I'm getting a lot of cards just showing a bleak situation, which is not to say it's going to stay that way, but where it is right now is bleak. I'm trying to get something here that gives some kind of answer, like where it's heading. Because I'm getting right now things like exhaustion. Everybody is just worn out, all sides. There's a sense of people fighting for survival, deprivation, exhaustion, suffering. But there's also a sense of priorities, a sense of purpose, to get toward a victory, toward a resolution in this. That's why I think somehow it is going to work out. But right now, when you said 2 weeks, already I thought this sounds rather bleak, like it's going to take longer than 2 weeks. But
Yeah.
what are you getting? That was the biggest thing.
I had NATO be the subject. So the 7th house will be NATO and the 8th house will be their opposition. And so I'm sorry to say, NATO presents as at war.
Yeah. Maybe
Chart.
that's getting about
So
priorities.
Poland is going to bomb Russia. No, in plainer words, what I am saying as clearly as I can say it is that part of why Trump is in England is to reaffirm his commitment to the West, including increasing sanctions with Russia, which he's announced. He's talked about Trump breaking with Putin and that Putin was infuriated and that he would accelerate his actions against NATO and the West because he couldn't cut a deal or manipulate Trump the way he had wanted to. So when Trump showed up in England, it was a statement by the United States that they were recommitting to their Western alliances. So this is the clearest way that I can communicate it with you. And he is meeting with them right before NATO chooses to attack Russia. So NATO is going to attack Russia. No question about it. Knight of Swords is on guard. Hellfire and brimstone. It's the bull in the china
It just
shop.
feels really grim right now. That's what energy I was getting.
The Empress. So how they see themselves, inverted Empress. They are wiped out. They have no resources, and they are the victim. Little Russia is the victim. We have nothing. And look at this evil action by NATO. They present as an inverted Empress. So they're finished financially. What the heck did they expect was going to happen? Complete confusion and shock. So on some level, Putin thought that by acting this way, he was going to scare NATO into the negotiating table. He didn't expect them to actually bomb Russia. And then the final outcome is a deal. So what Putin thought in his broken brain was going to happen was that he was going to, we're so frightened. We'd better cut a deal. Okay, you can take Crimea. Just don't hurt us. This is what is going on in the desperate mind of Putin. But what actually happens is, oh, yeah, you're threatening me? Oh, you can take my lunch money. That's what he thought was going to happen. Oh, you're threatening me? And then all of a sudden, it's like, I want my BB gun. I want my Ryder BB gun. What was that? The Christmas Story?
Oh, yes. Christmas Story.
Right. And he was just, right. Always the victim. And what happens when you're always the victim? The bully gets more aggressive and more aggressive and more aggressive because it's fun. They don't expect you to turn around like the little boy in the Christmas Story and say, leave me alone, and go berserk and beat the crap. And I want my Ryder BB gun. No, it'll poke your eye out, kid.
Put your eye out. Yeah.
Where the kid finally goes berserk and everybody's shocked because and the bully is crying and going home. This kid is done. NATO is done, and NATO is going to hit Russia. And it could not have been any other way.
And Trump is throwing Putin under the bus. He made a public statement in England today, said Putin has really let me down. That's what Trump said. His very words.
Mild. That's all he said?
Well, I don't know if that's all he said, but that was the soundbite I saw. That was what stood out when I was watching the news today. I was, and it was also, of course, talking about NBC, how they need to fire Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers, but that's another topic altogether.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We need to stick to what we're talking about here.
Yeah, we'll talk about Jimmy Kimmel because it's relevant to everything else.
Extremely relevant right now, First Amendment rights, but... Anyway.
I think we're going to attack Venezuela, absolutely, because Venezuela, Maduro, that was put in by Russia. I think we talked about this last week in order to destabilize the Americas. It was interesting that I saw Putin putting his money in South America and the islands, and that was even before all this crazy stuff went down. So yeah. Oh, how is Trump holding up in England? And the other thing that comes up, I don't know if anybody saw that somebody, and then the person got arrested, and I'm like,
but they made their point. And hopefully Trump saw it.
Arrested for what? That's what I don't understand. What are you arresting them for? For putting a picture on a wall?
Well, that could be considered vandalism, I guess.
How is it vandalism? It's just, isn't it just a projected picture on a wall?
I don't know if that's right. It was projected. It wasn't a hung banner, but I don't know if that could be considered disrespect for public property or what. I don't know what kind of charge they could get on that, but I just hope Trump saw it.
British police arrested 4 people after images of President Trump with sex offender Jeffrey Epstein were projected onto Windsor Castle on Tuesday night after he arrived for his second visit to the UK.
Yeah.
It was part of a British guerrilla campaign led by donkeys, which has targeted Trump. Interesting, donkeys, because that is the symbol for the Democratic Party.
I was thinking ass. Maybe that's what they were trying to say also. But, Trump, of course, embarrassed us. No surprise there. Did you see him walking? And just like he did with Queen Elizabeth 3 or 4 years ago, he did it with King Charles. He did not observe protocol, just Trump barreling on through, leaving King Charles right behind him. He does not represent our country well wherever he goes, but that's no surprise, and that's certainly an understatement. King Charles was quite gracious, though, at the state dinner.
Yeah, I would imagine so, but he laughed at the insane. There was a few times he laughed at some of the crazy stuff. Look, he has to be judicious. They have to be gracious, but they secretly, William has openly said that he can't stand Trump. So it doesn't surprise me that,
Yeah, well, it was said that Queen Elizabeth did not like Donald Trump either, but of course she had to follow protocol and so forth and take the high road. But, Queen Elizabeth was famous for wearing brooches that supposedly telegraphed secret messages. And I was reading somewhere where she loved the Obamas, and she wore a brooch that had a stone that symbolized peace and harmony. This was during Trump's first administration at a state dinner. She wore a brooch, and someone said the stone was meant to ward off evil spirits. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's an ever so subtle message from the Queen, how she really felt.
I do know that when the Queen met Trump the first time, Princess Anne didn't go into the room. She was standing at the door, just watching. And the Queen said, "Would you like to come in?" And she said, No, I'm good here. And I went into a remote, and I said, "I'd like to know how I feel as Queen Anne," because I do empathy remote where we become one with the other person. And I said, "I'd like to know what this feels like." And I heard myself say, No, I'm fine here. I can see the freak fine from here. I can see the freak fine just from here. I don't want to get too close to the freak, but it's like watching an animal in the zoo, right? It's just I wanted to see him. I wanted to see him.
Morbid curiosity.
Yes, I had a morbid curiosity as I wanted to see him. I'm good here. But
I like her
because I want to understand the freak.
I like the Princess Royal.
Oh, she doesn't believe in any of that royal nonsense. She never has. She used to dress like a penguin and bounce behind her mother to make a joke about it, and everybody knows it. You ever see some of the silly costumes of Anne?
I haven't paid close attention to them, but I think I will after the show. I'm going to look up some of them. But I like her.
One time she dressed like a peacock and started bouncing and jumping up and down behind her mother.
Oh, I'm sure Mummy was not amused by that.
Mummy was not amused, and what was
when the children turn.
It was a peacock, wasn't it? What was
I
it?
don't know. I haven't heard this.
Well, it was something about Queen Anne's outfits, and she specifically would do it when she had to walk behind Queen Elizabeth. And one time there's a story, according to the Queen Mum, that she was forced, that the Queen Mum had locked her in a closet and would not let her would not let her go out because it didn't like and when I heard that, I just thought that was absolutely hysterical. But it was the peacock hat. But yes, she was notorious for wearing silly costumes and she went through a period of trying to quack like a bird behind her mother, and that was.
Ooh, I don't think they covered this on the series The Crown. I knew I liked Princess Anne. Now I know why.
But there whole articles that have been written about how much. Look there she is with her peacock outfit.
Oh my Lord.
But in one of them, she actually started jumping up and down like a bird while her mother was trying to talk to people. And the takeaway, let's see, Princess Anne with Elizabeth. But I think the takeaway was that she was trying desperately to make fun of, or it was her rebellious phase.
Mhm.
And she would do it with mini skirts. So she had mini skirts and bird hats. And that was the thing that drove her mother absolutely.
Oh, I did not know what a problem child Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, was.
Yeah. But I actually started laughing about it. But when I heard that her grandmother said she was locked in the closet once, like, absolutely not. You're not going out in that outfit. But
Yeah.
that was how she rebelled. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to say good for her.
Yeah, I'll try and find some of them later on and show you. I think they've removed a lot of them because we had one where she was like, yay, bouncing. She looked
you're
just
right.
like a bird.
The royal family could have had a lot of those things removed.
But now I'm looking, and those quacky, I mean, I wonder if there were so many people laughing about it that eventually, but they're all gone now. Her bird outfits are gone. I'm sorry. What are you thinking? Do you think that the Democrats will win in November?
I think if the Republicans do not succeed in rigging the election, I think it's inevitable the Democrats will do well. But I'm worried about a lot of rigging and gerrymandering going on, redrawing of straight lines. The Republicans know the only way they can win is to cheat. And I wonder how successful they're going to be.
Let's take a look. What do the cards say?
The Democrats do. Oh, I got one card I like. How are the Democrats going to do? Oh my God! I hope I'm right. I've got other cards, but I'm going to show the last card I got. Victory. That's the last card I got. But leading up to that, I got that the Democrats are going to have to incorporate a lot of invention. You know, they're going to have to be unconventional, really, really dig for ways around this. And it's all about community. But before I got the victory card, I got life force, new beginnings, new life. And then my very last card that jumped out was victory. And I asked, how are the Democrats going to do in the November elections? And I hope I'm right. Yeah?
Yeah, I think you might be. Interesting cards that I got as well. We got death and transformation of the political system.
Yeah.
Foolish behavior by the opposition, which I imagine would be, I'm sorry, I've got a green screen on and it's causing it to do crazy things. Fool, because he's got a green costume on. The victory card, the war card, and then Justice is coming. You know what? In a way, this is good, everything that's happened, because all this terrible stuff with Epstein was happening in the 80s, and we all thought life was great in America. So clearly, it wasn't great.
Yeah.
It clearly wasn't great. I mean, I think Reagan was in power when a lot of this crazy stuff was going on, like 84, 85, when he first went on the scene.
Yeah.
And Clinton's Democrat, he was compromising everybody, lawyers, anybody who was in a position of power, royalty, lawyers, a who's who list of important people. But he pretty much corrupted everybody. And it shouldn't surprise us that we have to do this major overhaul. But we can't sit back and just expect our country to be ethical and just be spoon-fed these lies about our country. We have to all become involved, and we have to drag out and expose. Look, it's not the politicians that did this alone. It's the dark money. I want the dark money exposed. That's my feeling about it.
Yeah, a lot of truth has to come to the surface. I've said this many times on our show, and energy changes. We can get something in a reading 1 week, 3 weeks later, it can be different because energy shifts. But that's how it's looking right now in the moment to me. It's looking good for the Democrats.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but that could shift. But that's how right now reading. Joel Tilson, will Jimmy Kimmel sue ABC and Trump for violating his Second Amendment rights? Or wouldn't that be his First Amendment rights?
Yes, Second Amendment would be the right to carry guns.
Right to bear arms. Yes, First Amendment is free speech. As I read that, I felt like a rush of fire. Like Jimmy Kimmel just might be willing to take this on and fight the good fight. I'm not saying he will do it, but I'm feeling like that's crossing his mind right now. I got a real rush of fire when I read that. Well,
he got accused of falsely stating that MAGA killed Kirk, and MAGA did not kill Kirk. So,
exactly.
So that was why people were offended. So he published something that was not true.
Mm-hmm. Well, I watched the clip of Jimmy Kimmel. To me, it was no worse than any of his typical satire of Trump that he's been doing for months and months. And also what he said about the Republicans trying to use Charlie Kirk's murder to their advantage, to paint this picture of the left being so evil and violent. And Jimmy Kimmel didn't say anything that others haven't said. Heather Cox Richardson said basically something to that effect in one or two of her columns. But I think they've been wanting to get rid of him for quite a while. Trump, when I say they, Trump. And I think part of it we know how petty Trump is. And I think it even goes back. You remember last year at the Emmys where he was making some jokes about Trump, and Trump actually posted a tweet, like Jimmy Kimmel has no talent, his ratings are in the bottom and stuff like that. And Jimmy Kimmel just said, Mr. Trump, isn't it past your jail time? And I heard Trump was livid. And I think that's where the vendetta began.
All right, let's see about what Jimmy Kimmel is going to do.
Yeah.
Because, we don't get to just fire comedians because we don't like the joke. Yeah, I hear that the king used to kill the comedian. Like the joke. This is a fun day. We're going a little longer than usual. I had a bit of a rant. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe to the channel, we would really appreciate your subscription. We're almost at 100,000. I know Chuck wants to see us hit 100,000. We had 16,000 views at our last show. And so I know we have a personal goal of getting to at least 20,000. So the more likes you have, the more subscribing, the more we can help get the Whimsy and Chuck podcast. We also have a podcast series. We're now on all the RSS podcast links if you want to listen in your car. So I just thought I'd make that announcement before we keep going. Yes, Chuck.
That's great. Well, I mean, I was getting my intuitive hit while I was reading that statement. Like, this is something he's really considering. But I got First card that came up, self-esteem, meaning self-worth, doing what's right for yourself. Very much a need to balance this, to even the score, to call attention to this. I get the feeling that Kimmel is willing to sacrifice his career to fight the good fight. I'm getting like, I don't know if he's going to actually do it, but I'm getting he's really, really pondering this. Like, how far can I take this? Can I take this to the Supreme Court? Because it's such a blatant violation of First Amendment rights. And it's such a dangerous precedent that it's setting. Already we've seen Colbert's show taken off. Now Kimmel, Trump made that statement from England. Well, he had actually said this back in July when Colbert was canceled. Well, NBC, we're going to now go for Fallon, and we're going to go for Seth Meyers also. And today in England, or it was yesterday, he said, come on, NBC, do it. Do it. So.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, this is dangerous.
Get the Catholics. What's interesting is that all these boys are former choir boys.
Yeah.
Every single one of these guys, Fallon Catholic, Kimmel Catholic.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Somebody had taken a picture of all these comedians that had gone to meet the Pope.
Yeah.
Fallon and Kimmel and all these others. And somebody said, what do all these guys have in common? Which was supposed to say they're all comedians, but I said they're all Catholic.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting that they are sticking with each other and also sticking with their ethics as, they're good choir boys in the sense, like the best of what it is to be raised in, to be a good person and seeing it as an ethical thing. Yeah. Right. That part of being a religious or spiritual person, because they all did come from that background, was that they saw it as something, first off, everybody should be able to take a joke, but they also saw confronting this president as something that was part of their ethics in terms of how they were raised, that you should be able to stand up to the bully. And I thought that was really kind of cool that they shared that they shared that background. And instead of it being something negative, it was something like, no, we had this, we all grew up like that. We all know each other. We all were good Catholic kids. And this is part of what we took away from being raised that way is you fight for what is right. You fight for what is right.
I get that feeling. If I can just put a little personal spin on this, Jimmy Kimmel came into our store once. I spent some time with him. Just a few minutes, and it was just professional, but I have a sense of his energy. I remember him quite well. And I just am feeling, he may not do this, but I'm feeling like he's seriously considering it. I get the energy. He sees his show is gone anyway. What has he got to lose? Why not fight the fight? Get something out of this. But then he may also have to think about his 2 young children, his wife, his family. It could get really vicious. So that's why I think he's got to weigh all of that. But I think left to his own devices, he would love to challenge this.
Well, he's heartbroken, his first house. I'm heartbroken, man. I really just want to get people to laugh. My intention, man. I don't want to hurt anyone. I became a comedian to help heal the wounds and to make people feel better. I used to get together with my family on get-togethers, and I was the jokester because it made my family happy. I'm heartbroken that you would think my intention is. So we're now moving towards evidence against you. So he's facing possible legal challenges in addition to this. The feds are now after him.
Well, Trump wants to ruin
his loss, and now it's going all the way to the courts, which is what you had said.
Yeah. I think he's got to weigh things because it's not just about him. It's about his family and their safety. And it doesn't surprise me that I think Trump has had a vendetta for a long time and has wanted to bring him down. That's why Rosie O'Donnell left the country. She knew this was going to happen to her. He's such a petty, vindictive man. But Jimmy Kimmel is a lovely person. I don't know if you ever saw that show where his son had been born with a heart defect and they didn't know if he was going to live or not. And he had to have emergency open heart surgery. And it was like, I have this wrong, but maybe 3 days old. Jimmy, I've never seen anything like this before in my life. I don't think any of us have. Jimmy came out to do his opening monologue, and tears just started running down his face. He could not stop crying. He just did he threw his monologue out and just spoke from the heart and was crying for like 5 minutes. He's a beautiful man.
Wow.
There's a lot in his soul, and I think he's got a real sense of righteousness and
you know he used to date Sarah Silverman,
yes,
who's from a
and
Jewish
she came in
family.
our store.
And
Yeah.
I know her,
Yeah.
and I know Susan.
I
actually
liked her a lot.
Susan is sister. I went to her birthday party. Actually, Yossi
Really?
is a good friend. Her brother-in-law Yossi is a friend of mine. And when I was building the Oasis One towards a new vision of Gaza, which is the rebuild of Gaza, I was in Israel,
Yeah.
and Yossi Abramowitz said, "Well, let's get together. Come to Susan's birthday party." So I went, and we got to wish Susan a beautiful, happy birthday.
Mhm.
But Sarah Silverman had said the joke of that when she was dating Jimmy Kimmel, being a nice Catholic boy, he gave her a Saint Christopher,
Medal.
It's like, here you go, honey. Here's a Saint Christopher medal to protect you, but don't put it on your chest or it might burn a hole in you. She's like, oh, that's nice.
I love it.
It's just like, but don't put it on your heart because you're a Jew and it might put a hole in it. It's just okay.
I love it. Well,
so he always had that ability to make it like funny. But
having met both of them, that's why I can laugh and identify with that.
Yeah. Boy, does she have a good figure. But she told me it's because she was born a vegetarian, like her parents.
Really?
Yeah. And I was actually, when I went to the her party for her birthday, we had like a smorgasbord. Everybody put things out. I brought chocolate and stuff. I brought her a bottle of wine and chocolate for her party. But the one thing they did have was tuna, and I was so glad. Just for those people who wanted fish, they did make a tuna salad. So it was awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Since conservative Supreme Court members appear too timid to counter Trump's fascist impulses, will they resign to avoid any consequences when the Dems win the Congress during the midterms? What's your feeling?
Oh, I'm just thinking that's a good question. Something I had never pondered before. I don't know.
Let's see about shakeups in the Supreme Court. Where is our ethics to remove these fruitcakes? That's what I can't understand. Is like, why are they still there?
Well, lifetime appointments, but why are they still there? I mean, such obvious corruption, but I don't even know where to begin to read that. What's the question we're going to ask? I need to be really
are we going to see a shakeup in the Supreme Court when the Democrats come in? Are we going to find justice hitting the Supreme Court? Yeah, do a yes or no on that.
Will the Democrat? Okay, I got a yes on the Democrats. Again, we're reading the energy right now, but I wanted to ask that again with the pendulum. Okay, will there be a shakeup in the Supreme Court when the Democrats come in? This is where I'm not getting a yes or a no, where it's in the middle. It's a maybe, a possibility. I'm sorry to give such a vague answer, but that's what my pendulum's giving me, a maybe. Like it could go either way. Maybe
I think Thomas is leaving 100%.
I hope so.
You have the chariot, go, 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 and the opposition is feeling increasingly tied up. I know that Thomas has had some health crisis.
Yeah.
I think he had COVID. He was hospitalized at one point.
Sotomayor
has been having trouble seeing. There's been information coming out about diabetic retinopathy.
I was just going to say she's diabetic.
Yeah, so those are the two people who are probably going.
I saw her on The View. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I saw her on The View a week ago. She looked quite good. She looked healthy.
So she might be doing fine. Then you have death and transformation. So big changes happening. At least two, possibly more Supreme Court justices leaving soon. Yeah. And I think,
I think that came up a week ago, didn't it? We saw two judges.
Yeah, I'm
those two.
Really happy that Sotomayor is doing better because there was some concerns about her vision.
I mean, when I saw her on television, I didn't see any indication that she was having vision problems. She seemed quite strong, healthy, sound mind. She's written a children's book, and that's what she was promoting.
Yeah, so if it's just mild and if it's just when she reads or something like that, there are simple ways to deal with that. And that,
Yeah.
hopefully she'll get through that. One card on Sotomayor I get, she's still strong. She's
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
strong. But there's a crash coming over. I'm seeing an expose just focused on the corruption of the Supreme Court coming out, and I'm glad it couldn't come soon enough.
It has to. It has
Yeah.
to. I even wonder if the spirit of Ruth Bader Ginsburg is a little bit behind this. I told you when I channeled her 2 or 3 weeks ago, she didn't go into this, but she did tell me that she channels a lot through Ketanji Brown Jackson. She sees her as the closest to her successor. So she's constantly whispering in her ear, guiding her. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg was telling me on the other side, she's working very, very hard on this. She's very distressed by what she's seeing. So I don't know what kind of pull she has from the other side.
I think that that's a very powerful thing to say. And it goes back to what the Talmud talks. There's so much good stuff in Judaism. I wish we would clean up the sexism crap, because Torah is beautiful. But this idea in the Talmud that you have necessary losses and milestones and stepping stones where you go through a period, and it doesn't have to be this exact. There are people that have completed their karma by the age of 12. Like, who was that kid that died from that disease?
Ryan White?
Macy or Madison or something. He was on the Oprah Winfrey Show. He became this brilliant poet. He became a poet laureate when he was like 11, 12 years old.
I'm not sure.
Maddie, the poet Maddie. So he achieved his enlightenment. He completed his work, his tome, his writings. Why am I echoing?
I don't know. I don't hear an echo.
Hearing an echo. Did you have something on?
No, I didn't.
So he completed it and died when he was 12. So he was able to establish a family, establish relationships. He was able to fulfill his message and teachings because he taught through his writings. He was able to get his book published, which was, I think he sold 1 million copies. And then he was able to complete, but it's very rare to complete your karma at 12.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I mean, like most of us need at least 70 years before we write our first book. Yeah, so it goes back to that of like these necessary phases that we have to go through in our lives and then complete them. Mm-hmm. So, Terry, hi.
I was baptized Catholic by my alcoholic father so he could win me in custody from my mother. Then he put me in a convent, and when I did something wrong, I was on my knees doing the rosary. That's sad.
Yeah. So, and then it goes back to this idea that the rosary is this wonderful, beautiful, powerful prayer that can move mountains. There are people that have been completely healed through the rosary, and now they've taken this thing and turned it into some toxic disaster. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's see if I have a couple more comments.
Paperback writer. Google the article 5 best faith-based franchises for Christian entrepreneurs. I wasn't kidding about the church franchises you can buy to start your own sect. Wow. Mary says, it's interesting that the white nationalist Christians worship a brown-skinned Hebrew Jew. Oh, worship, excuse me, I'm sorry. You have to pardon me, it's my contact lenses. I worship, Christians worship a brown-skinned Hebrew Jew. It's interesting. FDR very much respected Eleanor Roosevelt. He considered her his greatest partner. They had more of a partnership toward the latter years of their marriage than an actual romantic marriage. United States has blood on its hands since they landed the Mayflower. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What we did to the Indians.
Oh God, what we did to Black people. I mean, like, we're still doing it. I mean, we're still living on occupied lands It's important to understand the Native Americans are not fossils. They're still living in subhuman conditions on reservation, and that's by design. The federal government has declared war on indigenous people, and it's still declaring war on indigenous people, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, we went a long time.
Oh, we went very long today. Hour and
right.
46 minutes.
So, what bad will happen to me if I break down? This is a question for the group. What bad will happen to me if I break down and order chicken wings? I've been craving chicken wings. Those are pretty fatty, aren't they?
They are, but you've been good. You behave yourself. You can treat yourself once in a while. I don't think it's going to.
I'm craving chicken wings. I'm craving chicken.
Well, you go with your urges. Go where your instinct is.
I'm trying to reduce my fat intake. They say it's like so bad for your gallbladder, but I was trying to, like, who here has a favorite food? Who here has a favorite food? Like, before we close today, what are the favorite foods that are hard for you to give up? Here is mine. Number 1, spaghetti bolagnese.
God, I love anything pasta.
Anything Italian, but like, go to Italy and just eat and eat and eat.
If you
yeah. So, okay, so you got to do spaghetti bolognese, and then the second is chicken wings. Chicken wings with the Tabasco, like with the pepper sauce dipped in ranch dressing.
The ranch dressing. That's the kicker.
Not the blue cheese. I like the ranch dressing.
Yeah. You've got me wanting to go out and get chicken wings with ranch dressing now. You're a bad influence.
Yeah, it looks like anybody here that chicken wings is one of your favorite go-to snacks. Other people will say burritos. Other people will say...
I love calamari.
Really?
Yeah.
You're going to, I know you're planning a trip to Italy sometime.
I want to one day soon. I've been there, but it's been
when you decide, I'll gift you a little something to pay for part of the trip. We'll give you a little tip to help you on your journey. Like, we'll give you like a 500 or 1,000 to help pay for part of it. And you'll just sit in a cafe somewhere in Rome and just eat massive amounts of lasagna.
And then when you see me back on the show in a week or two, I'll be about 20, 30 pounds heavier. I understand when Robert De Niro did Raging Bull. Remember how they took a 2-month break so he could gain 60 pounds? When he was playing the fighter Jake LaMotta. In the beginning of the movie, he's all slim and muscular and at the peak of his prowess. And then the latter part of the movie, he's middle-aged and he's very obese. Robert De Niro gained 60 pounds, and he said he did it eating pasta. Lots of pasta. Lots of Italian food.
I was going to say, I broke my diet last night. I had horrible acid reflux coming up. You know what I ate? I ate the pizza, the Joe Rogan pizza.
What's the Joe Rogan pizza?
The Joe Rogan pizza is anchovy and pineapple.
Ooh.
It's actually really good.
Really? It sounds a little repugnant, but I guess I'd try anything at least once.
It's the sweet and the salty come together, and
I never cared for anchovies.
Yeah, it gets rid of the fishy flavor, and the pineapple takes away, and it instead just becomes this salty, crunchy, yummy, sweet.
Well,
thing.
Sweet and salty.
And
that combination always goes well together.
Yeah, so I inhaled the small pizza. It was 4 large slices, and the whole night I was like, I'm gonna die.
I think we're making everybody out there hungry right now.
Yeah, no, I just was curious if anybody was like me and they just love chicken wings as much as I do.
Well, you and I have talked about this a lot because, we met in the health industry and we do largely adhere to what we preach. But you and I have been bad a few times. Astro Burger, onion rings.
Yeah. You want to go with companies that check for rancidity. Omega-3 by Nordic Naturals has they do molecular distilling, and they check for rancidity. You won't get a rancid fish oil if you go with a Nordic Naturals liquid.
That's a very good company. I remember when we sold that. We were very careful what we put on our shelves, and we would do our homework. We would investigate the companies.
Yeah.
Because shelf space is limited. Shelf space in a store is like real estate. So you got to be careful what you put there. And that was one of our brands we definitely carried.
All right, everybody. Chuck, if they're trying to reach you for
they're trying to reach me. You can see my name there, Chuck Dransfield. It's just Dransfield Chuck, one word, at gmail.com. I love hearing from you. I love doing readings for you, making artwork for you. It's always my honor and my privilege. And and of course I have Chuck's Captivating Chronicles, my channel, and I do a little show, live stream on Mondays, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, Chuck's Captivating Chat. And we just talk about a lot of old Hollywood and fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm hoping you'll start showing your art and explaining what you got as you channeled the character. He channels a message from them as he does their art.
I do. Many times when I get requests to do portraits for people, and this was something I kind of discovered by accident, but I wasn't surprised by it either, because when I am immersed in a portrait, I connect with the energy, the soul of that person. That's the only way I know how to work when I'm doing a portrait, because I want to especially get that in the eyes. And it's just inevitable I'm going to hear something from that person. And I very often, it might be just a simple little message, but it's usually something pertinent. The person I'm doing, the subject, they know this is a message meant for the person who's purchasing the art, and they'll give that to me.
Yeah, Contessa, they do everything in closed, low oxygen, and then it's bottled. And then once you open it, you have to put it in the refrigerator to protect it from rancidity. That's true. But they produce it in low oxygen. All right. If you're trying to get in for a reading, no, I didn't take fish oil. That wasn't what caused my GERD. It was because I wolfed down a pizza. And the only time I get GERD is when I eat something like that before bed. And, there are certain things that probably it was the cheese and the tomato sauce that gave me the GERD. Well, anything with high fat is going to put you at risk.
One of the earliest things you ever taught me, and you talk about this in your videos, such as around SIBO, how essential it is that we eat slowly. We chew our food. There are enzymes. Yeah, exactly. But there are enzymes in our saliva, and that's part of the chewing process and breaking it down before it hits our stomach. That was one of the very first things you ever taught me. And now you're telling me you wolfed down a pizza before bedtime.
I paid for it, but damn, was it worth it. All right. If you're trying to get in for a reading with me, you can find all the information below. Okay. Yeah, you don't want to do that with fish. You want to make sure to eat fish, keep it in the refrigerator.
Oh, yes.
No, we've tested omega-3s through Nordic. A lot of there are companies out there where it's not rancid. All right. Thank you, everyone. Be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. God bless. Peace out. And we will see you next time.
See you next time.
Everybody. Bye.
See you next Tuesday. Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.